I think I was always interested in your progression as a musician and also moving into film music. I always thought that was such a natural step for you, or a natural inclusion in your
Yeah, so
efforts.
the opportunity to work with an orchestra came in. I was on tour with my backup band doing my first solo album, Elect the Dead, and I remember I was in Seattle and I got an email from a friend in New Zealand, Bo Ranga, who's an artist herself, and she said, "I've got an interesting proposition for you. The head of marketing for the Auckland Philharmonia Orchestra wants to do something with you." A project, a show, something.
Hmm.
And I remember just going, okay, I'll deal with this later, running to a show, sound check. And I remember the tour ended a few weeks after. I was sitting on the couch on a beautiful sunny day in LA, and I looked at the email, and this excitement poured over me. And I'm like, I got to do this. I don't know what I'm about to do, but I got to do this. So I started basically, and the way was I stripped the songs down back to piano or acoustic guitars and started writing very easy, kind of minimalistic string and some brass arrangements. They got a wonderful co-composer for me to work with, John Psathis, who's still a friend and we still collaborate. And he works a lot with, he's in New Zealand and he works a lot with orchestras there. And so I worked with him the first time around, and we did this show in 2009 at the Auckland Town Hall with the Auckland Philharmonia Orchestra. And we made a CD DVD that we released on Warner at the time. And it really changed, again, my musical vision. It made me fall in love with the orchestra. It made me fall in love more with film music. I mean, I was already listening to film music, but it made me really kind of go in that direction. And then I started using more orchestral scores on my own solo records. And, I was already, come to think of it, I was doing string arrangements and some orchestral arrangements for System of a Down records, although they're so buried underneath the guitars that you don't hear them. But we actually brought in live, small, amount of players for definitely Toxicity, starting with Toxicity.
Yeah.
We did it with Steal This Album is a part of that because it was the same sessions. And then also with Mesmerize, Hypnotize as well. Yeah.
Do you think like 10, 15 years ago, you pictured yourself actually like jumping in full head of steam to film composing, or was it just an idea that you wanted to dabble in? Because I heard another interview you mentioned that you like to change up, like, you started painting for a while and you're switching the art that you're tackling. But was this like a full vision, like you were envisioning you're switching gears into film composing, or is it just something you wanted to dabble in?
No, bro, it's something that I definitely wanted to pivot toward, and it more than 10 years. In fact, I just realized I was hanging out with Jay Ferris. Robert, Jay, Lionsgate, before that, Baby New Music, and now he's doing wellness. He's in the wellness world. And I remembered in 2006, he had introduced me to William Friedkin for a film called Bug with Ashley Judd and Harry Connick Jr. and Michael Shannon. And it was like this dark comedy kind of thing. And he's like, Billy Friedkin wants to meet you. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. That was my first like little break. And I did some character compositions for the film. And so that was my first time kind of really vibing and feeling it. And, and then it wasn't until later that I did my first full film, which was a film called 1915. By director Garin Hovhannisyan, who is the same director as I'm Not Alone, interestingly enough.
It's about April 24th.
Yeah, it's about it's actually a kind of like an art house film about the denial of the Armenian genocide, done in a really artsy kind of way. So that was my first full film that I did, and that was 2012, 2015.
We talk a lot about the crossover of Rockstar going to, Danny Elfman, Trent Reznor. Mm-hmm. What's it like for you to jump into a new space where your existing space, you're at the top of the game, everyone knows that you're going to come up with something great, and then you come into film composing and you have all of these people telling you their ideas and you're used to your ideas.
Right.
how do you tackle that? Is that a weird world for you to jump into, or did you adapt to it pretty easily?
Not at all. I mean, I still have my world of releases, and I just put out an EP called Elasticity of rock songs, along with Truth to Power, and I've got 9 releases slated for this year of my own music, from cinematic to poetry to soundtracks to live recordings of band on tour and that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of space to exercise my own muse, right? So I find working within limitations to be extremely creative and inspiring, because it's kind of like telling someone, as an artist, when you're doing your own stuff, everything's open. You could do whatever the hell you want, but that also means you can use anything you want. What instrumentation do I use? Play around with it and do all this stuff. Whereas if you tell me you're going to write a whole film on this small Yamaha keyboard, or just using this bottle, right?
Nice.
I'm like, fuck, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be exciting, because that limitation makes you more creative. And for me, I'm the type of artist that has always wanted to make diverse type of records, each one completely different. Well, that's my dream come true with film music, because each director wants a completely different type of music.